Most traders think they have a trading system. They have entry rules. They have a favorite indicator. They have a setup they recognize. And they believe that is enough. But here is the brutal truth. What you call a system is probably just a strategy. And a strategy without structure is like an airplane engine without wings. It has power, but it will only drive you into the ground. I spent years watching traders, successful ones and struggling ones, brilliant analysts who went broke and average thinkers who built wealth. And I noticed something consistent. The traders who survived long-term did not have better strategies. They had complete systems. And the difference between those two things is the difference between gambling with knowledge and actually trading. Having a strategy is essential, but unfortunately, strategy alone is not enough. When you first learn about trading, you are taught to look for setups. You learn patterns. You learn indicators. You learn when to enter. And the moment you find something that works a few times, you think you have cracked the code. You think this is my edge. But then you start trading it with real money. And something strange happens. The strategy that worked in backtesting fails in live trading. Not because the strategy is bad, but because you cannot execute it. You hesitate on entries. You move your stops. You cut winners early. You hold losers too long. And you start wondering, what is wrong with me? Why can I not do what I know I should do? The answer is simple. You do not have a system. You have a strategy. And a strategy alone cannot protect you from yourself. We must build a system to protect ourselves from ourselves. And this system should minimize our margin for error and maximize our probability of correct execution. A strategy is just the entry rule. It tells you when to pull the trigger. But a complete system is the entire mechanism. It tells you what market conditions you are trading in, how much you are risking, where you are exiting, what happens when you are wrong, and most importantly, what happens when your discipline fails. Because it will fail. You are human. You will have bad days. You will get tired. You will get greedy. You will get scared. And if your system does not account for that, it is not a system. It is a wish. Let me tell you what a complete trading system actually requires. Not theory, not philosophy. The structural core that separates traders who survive from traders who quit. Let's begin. First, market structure and clarity. Your system must know what game it is playing. Is the market trending? Is it sideways? Is it expanding or contracting? Because different conditions require different approaches. And if your system does not define the environment first, you are applying tools in the wrong context. Think of it this way. You would not use a hammer to cut wood. You would not use a saw to drive nails. But traders do this constantly. They apply trend-following strategies in sideways markets. They apply range strategies in breakouts. And then they wonder why nothing works. The first question your system must answer is not, when do I enter? It is, what kind of market am I in right now? And if you cannot answer that clearly, you should not be trading. Because clarity is the foundation. Without it, every decision after is built on sand. I struggled to be profitable for years. There were times when I made profit, barely even when I did everything right. Everything changed when I started asking which direction first, above all else. Up, down, or sideways? I learned that if I could not answer this question, I should not do anything. I observed that when the answer was sideways, my strategy's win rate dropped. And if the answer was up or down and I got the first answer right, I knew I would make profit at a rate higher than 65%. You can do everything right, but if you are trying to swim against the trend direction, you will not be rewarded for doing everything right. You will just stop out. That is all. In my years-long process of struggling to be profitable, this was the decision that moved my win rate from around 50% to over 60%. Look for trades in the direction the higher time frame says. If you cannot read the higher time frame, do not do anything. I noticed that most of my textbook trades that stopped out were counter-trend trades on the higher time frame. Second, fixed risk and exit. This is where most traders destroy themselves. They have an entry. They have an idea. But they do not have a plan for what happens next. They do not know where they will exit if they are wrong. They do not know where they will exit if they are right. So what do? They decide in the moment, based on emotion, based on how the trade feels, and that is not trading. That is improvisation. A complete system demands that you define your risk before you enter. Not after, not during, before. You must know the exact amount you are willing to lose. 1 R, 1 unit of risk. And that number does not change based on how confident you feel. It does not change based on how good the setup looks. It is fixed. Always. Because the moment you start adjusting risk based on conviction, you are no longer executing a system. You are gambling with bias. If you leave the decision to yourself, your emotions will find a way to mess everything up. We want to mechanize everything as much as possible, because that is what will make us consistent and profitable. The idea that some legendary traders trade with intuition may be crossing your mind right now. I am aware. But before you leave some things to intuition, you must give at least 10 years to these markets like those traders, and you must prove you can be profitable long term. Trading with intuition can be discussed later, but not now, because I once traded with intuition too, and I made good money. But then I realized my intuition guided me quite well and I could make or lose money, but I did not care when making money was not essential. But there were periods when I needed money, and saying I trade with intuition in such periods is very risky, because your need for money can easily manipulate your intuition. So we should set aside legendary traders who trade with intuition and return to reality. Become rich enough that you feel no dependence or need for money. Then you can consider it. Let's continue. And here is something most traders refuse to accept. Your exit does not need to be perfect, it just needs to be clear. Traders spend endless time trying to optimize take-profit levels, trying to catch the entire move, trying to exit at the exact top. But optimization is the enemy of execution. If you have less than 10 years of experience, discretionary exits will destroy you. Not because you are stupid, but because discretion requires emotional neutrality, and you do not have that yet. You will exit early because you are scared. You will hold too long because you are greedy. You will constantly second-guess yourself. So instead, define your exit in advance, even if it feels early, even if it does not capture the full move. Because a clear exit that you actually follow is worth more than a perfect exit that you constantly adjust. Clarity prevents confusion, and confusion leads to self-sabotage. And there is a very important detail. Just like your stop point, having a clear exit point protects you mentally. It preserves your energy. Because while constantly looking at the chart thinking, where is the right place to exit, you burn quite a bit of fuel, and stress levels inevitably rise. And if on top of that, price reverses one tick before your determined exit and stops you out, congratulations. You took mental damage. If you have a fixed exit point and stop point, mental damage is minimal. If you always exit when you see 2% profit, there is nothing to debate. You preserve your energy mentally. No need to constantly look at charts because everything is clear. You do not need to make decisions because everything is clear. Believe me, this is much better for you. Let them miss part of the move. It does not matter. Your probability of making the right decision on the next trade increases because the clarity of everything makes you less emotional, less exhausting. This is what we want. Third, the biological safety net. This is where most systems fail. They are designed for your best version, the disciplined version, the focused version, the calm version. But that version does not exist most of the time. Most of the time, you are tired, you are emotional, you are distracted, you are vulnerable. And if your system only works when you are at your best, it is not a real system. A complete system is designed for your worst version, the version that is exhausted after a long day, the version that just took 3 losses in a row, the version that is desperate to make money back. That version will break rules. That version will take revenge trades. That version will convince itself that this time is different. So your system must have walls. Hard stops that protect you from yourself. Not suggestions. Walls. For example, after 2 stop losses in one day, the terminal shuts down. Not because you want to stop, because the system forces you to. No negotiation, no exceptions. You are done for the day. This is very simple advice, but game-changing type. If you are a day trader and you say the screen closes after 2 stops, you protect yourself quite a bit. Not just your capital, but your psychology too. I know some of you can immediately think the third trade might go to take profit. We are inclined to think the best scenario, I know. But you also know that if this happens 10 times, 7 times, the third trade also stops out, and your likelihood of breaking discipline increases. So sometimes, even knowing the third trade will end positively, we must give it up and close the screen after 2 stops. In fact, I think we should put a limit of 2 trades directly. That is what I use. If I am day trading, I give myself 2 trade rights. Whether 2 wins or 2 losses, it does not matter. After 2 trades, the trading day ends for me. There was something I noticed when I was close to being profitable but could not be. Most trades that ruin profitable days are always the last trades you take, Because you get exhausted, your cognitive capacity is finished, and rational thinking becomes difficult. Management is hard. Your error probability increases, but you still trade. If you stopped at 2 trades, you would get 7% profit, but instead you close the day with 8 trades feeling more productive and get 3% profit. As I noticed these things, I saw how increasing trade frequency harmed me. I thought just reducing my trade frequency could make me profitable, and it was one of the most effective methods. Less is more. This is true. Also, position size capped at 1%, always. If 1% is too little for you and does not even have a side that can be taken seriously, it can be more. I understand that. Your risk level should be at a level where you will maintain your seriousness, but can also manage your trade properly. You must be able to tolerate it, both financially and psychologically. Find that level and stay there, even when you feel certain. Even when the setup looks perfect, even when you just won 5 trades in a row and confidence is high. The system does not care how you feel. It enforces the rule. This is not about turning you into a robot. This is about protecting your capital when you are human. Because you will be human, you will have moments of weakness, and in those moments, your system must be stronger than your emotions. That is the biological safety net. It is not there to control you. It is there to save you. If you take the same risk in every trade and you have a 2-trade limit, what is the worst that can happen? Think about it. If you risk 1%, the worst you will lose is 2%. This is a tolerable loss. A loss that will not psychologically destroy anyone. A loss that will not make you question everything. A loss that will not force you to be irrational when you get back to the screen tomorrow. Because it can be easily tolerated with just one correct trade. Knowing this should give you one more reason to be disciplined. Fourth, decision fatigue. Most traders do not understand how much energy decision-making costs. Every time you ask yourself, should I enter? Should I exit? Should I hold? Should I move my stop? You are draining mental capital, and the human brain has limited capacity for high-quality decisions. By the end of the day, that capacity is exhausted. And when it is exhausted, your willpower collapses. You stop following rules. You start taking shortcuts. You rationalize bad decisions. This is not a character flaw. This is biology. And if your system requires constant decisions, you will fail. Not because you lack discipline, but because you are asking your brain to do something it cannot sustain. So everything should be as practical and simple as possible. That is why you should trade a certain session and master that time. What we want is to operate our limited energy with maximum efficiency. And for that, we should not try to do everything. We need a system that is as simple, plain, and practical as possible. That is all. A complete system eliminates decisions. In the analysis phase, you can be flexible, creative, artistic. You study the market, you identify setups, you prepare. But in the execution phase, you become mechanical, rigid, binary. The setup either meets your criteria or it does not. If it does, you enter. If it does not, you do not. No gray area, no maybes, no, I think this one is close enough. Because the moment you introduce discretion, you introduce emotion. And emotion is where mistakes happen. Professionals are not more disciplined than amateurs. They just engineer their systems to require less discipline. They remove decision points, they automate responses, they turn trading into a checklist. And when the checklist is complete, they execute. No thinking, no debating, just action. That is how you protect yourself from decision fatigue. You decide once when you build the system. Then you stop deciding and start executing. Make everything as clear as possible. Mechanize it. This way you can trade correctly on your worst day and your best day. Being tight on money cannot make you see setups that do not exist, cannot make you act with haste, because everything is clear and mechanical. This way, regardless of conditions, you can get the output, the result that your system should produce. Fifth, the written contract. Here is the test. If you cannot write down your system and hand it to someone else to execute, you do not have a system. You have a vague idea. You have intuition. You have experience, but you do not have a system. A system is a set of rules so clear that anyone following them would make the same decisions you would. Entry criteria written explicitly, risk defined numerically, exit levels specified in advance, rules for what happens after wins, rules for what happens after losses, rules for when to trade, rules for when to stop. All of it documented, all of it non-negotiable. Because if it is not written, it does not exist. Your memory will fail you. Your emotions will rewrite the rules in real time. You will convince yourself that you said something you did not. But if it is written, you cannot lie to yourself. The system holds you accountable. That is why we write the system, and if new questions come to mind, that system has gaps. We fill those gaps until there are no questions left to ask, until everything is clear and defined. When you get there, you are at another level. Your system can produce output for you independent of your mood. If you have not gotten there yet, be sure you will, as long as you take steps in this direction. It took me more than 3 years to become profitable. I started living the best years of my career after my 5th year, but I thought no disaster that could happen had not happened to me until I got there. But it was not disaster at all. They were things I needed to experience to go the right way. That is all. Everything should be as mechanical as possible, not open to interpretation. There is only one part open to interpretation. What direction are the markets going? If I am going to day trade today, which direction should I trade to positively affect my trade's winning probability? Only the answers to these questions may not be mechanical. Your own answers. The rest should be mechanical, not up for discussion. And here's what most traders never do. They never sign it. They write rules, but they do not commit to them. So I want you to do something after this video. Write out your entire system, every rule, every condition, every limit. Then print it and sign it, like a contract. Because that is what it is, a contract between you and the market. A contract that says, I will follow these rules even when I do not want to, even when breaking them feels justified, even when I think I know better. The signature makes it real, it makes it binding. And when you are tempted to break a rule, you will have to face that signature. You will have to admit that you are violating your own agreement. And that friction, that small moment of accountability, is often enough to stop you. I know it is not easy. Trading can be quite exhausting. You may have been doing this for over 5 years and still not be profitable. Everyone's timing is unique. Maybe you are not profitable yet, but you will be tomorrow. And trading is not just making you money, it is also forcing you to mature as a person, pushing you to strengthen psychologically. It is making you develop by regularly putting you in uncomfortable situations. Do not forget these things. Your time will come. You will make money and reach the things you desire. The way to that may not go through magical things as you predicted. Face that everything needs to be mechanized for you to get where you want to go may not seem attractive to you. I am aware, but I am telling you the truth. These realities may not seem attractive today, and you may choose different paths instead of applying them. But you will reach what I said through your own experience. If you do not notice and apply these things today, you will notice by living through it. So apply today, even if it does not seem exactly right, because this way you will have saved time. You do not have to lose money for another 2 years to understand that everything needs to be as mechanical as possible. Trust me, this is the way that will give you what you want. You will definitely get there, whenever you are supposed to. Now let me tie this all together. A complete trading system is not just about making money, it is about creating an environment where consistent execution is possible, where you are not relying on willpower, where you are not fighting yourself every day, where the system does the heavy lifting and you just follow instructions. Most traders fail because they are trying to trade the market, but the market is not what you trade. You trade your system. The market just provides opportunities. Your system tells you which ones to take, and if your system is incomplete, if it has gaps, if it relies on your best self showing up every day, it will fail. Not might fail, will fail. Because you are human, and humans are inconsistent, but systems are not. So stop searching for better strategies. Stop looking for the holy grail setup. Stop thinking that one more indicator will change everything. Instead, build a complete system. Define the market conditions you will trade. Define your fixed risk. Define your exits in advance. Build walls to protect yourself from your worst self. Eliminate decisions in execution. And write it all down. Sign it. Commit to it. Because trading is not about being right. It is not about being smart. It is not about finding secrets. Trading is about having a system and following it long enough for probability to work. That is it. That is the whole game. And if you can do that, if you can build a complete system and execute it without interference, You will join the small minority who actually make it. Not because you are special, because you stopped trying to trade the market and started trading your system. If I made a positive contribution to you on this journey, how wonderful. All of this is for that. Thank you for your support. See you soon.